We're listening to this because it's Brian's favorite song.
I don't even know the song. But it sounds good.
Come on, you don't know this song? Hang on, as I'm scrolling through tabs to find it. It's Tower of Power. What is hip, my man?
I know Brian's hip.
Brian absolutely is hip. Hey, so Brian had a really good idea, and actually it wasn't an idea, Ezra. He just said, I sent him a link to this, and he said, I said, let me know if I can do anything for you. Here's my phone number. He says, a beer, some beers, or $1 million in sales. And I'm like, you didn't get my keg? My gosh. So I think for our future guests, we need to have a beer truck show up, or maybe like a hot dog or a food truck.
There you go. Nice.
So here we are, Ezra. We're with Brian with Sumner Guns, and I'm going to let you kind of run with it because I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm hopped up on coffee right now.
Yeah, but that's your way of getting out of shit.
I know. I mean, no, it's not.
See what you employ, Ezra? See what you employ?
Exactly. Brian knows you.
Come on, Brian.
Awesome. Well, let's just welcome Brian Belcher, who I sometimes call Brian Sumner because he's with Sumner Guns, and I always think I always have to correct myself. And Brian, maybe we can start by you just introducing yourself and tell us a little about Brian's one of our customers, one of our really good customers that's been with us through thick and thin, through lots of growing pains. And Brian, maybe you can tell us a little about you and your store and where you're located and what you guys specialize in.
First, Brian Belcher. Background has nothing to do with firearms other than an enthusiast. Toured in the music business as a production manager, front of house engineer for, almost 31 years. In between those times, I worked for Tandy Corporation and a bunch of music vendors as regional.
Tandy?
Yeah, back
like the old Radio Shack?
I was a regional manager at Radio Shack. So,
wow, very cool.
Worked for a few other music companies as district sales manager, regional sales manager stuff. And when the pandemic hit, I decided I was going to do something with some retirement. So got involved in the store here, and we're just north of Nashville by about 15 minutes, effectively halfway between Nashville and Kentucky border. We don't really specialize in anything other than anything that has to do with guns. And training, cool. Right? So we have a range. We have a 10-lane range, 25 yards. Have a good, solid training program. And we've got about, as of this morning, about 1,400 firearms in the store. So
wow,
we try to keep a good inventory and really just try to treat people right. There's only 2 rules at the store. Greet everybody, say hi, and don't sell them anything they don't need. So that's really the only 2 rules.
Those are 2 good rules. I tell our salespeople the same thing. When we sell something that doesn't fit, it actually ends up being more costly for us.
You. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
for sure. That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining. And Brian, this is kind of our first of its kind, but I'm hoping it's not the last. What we decided to do is recruit a couple of customers, and I don't know if you know this, but you've been recruited. Now you can unrecruit yourself, but one of the things that we want to do in the next few months is really get our ear closer to the ground and try to communicate, with customers and hear what some of the complaints are, what some of the needs are, and try to respond to those. I think we're pretty good with responding to things, but I know for a fact our feedback site, sometimes we tend to forget that it's even there. So, that's one of the things we want to get better at. And I think with having customer involvement. And Eric with East Valley Tactical is going to be, we were hoping he would join today as well, but scheduling conflicts. So we're going to have a separate meeting with him. And we don't have all of this defined, just to be honest with you, but we're looking for your input. And I don't know if you've noticed, Brian, but we switched our whole help desk system. And one of the reasons we switched was to try to bring together all of our different communication channels. So currently what we launched is a unified ticketing and chat system. So the chat actually turns into a ticket and we have full visibility. It's also fully integrated knowledge base, which we're going to be able to take advantage of that by suggesting answers, right? On just like you see in a lot of different companies that you go to, you start typing in the chat and, maybe some suggested articles come up. So it gives us that. But the last piece that, Joel, I don't even know if you know about this, but the platform that we moved to actually has an entire forums, and all of us are old enough to remember what a forum is. I know Brian is, if he said Tandy.
AKA a chat room.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's similar to a chat room, but typically it's, the community, right, that is chatting within there. And actually, if you're logged into our help desk system, which is, help.coreware.com, you would actually see that we've got, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, and I'll go ahead and get to it and share my screen so I can show both of you, because again, I didn't preview anything. I didn't tell Joel what exactly we were doing, and there's no real big agenda here other than just to ask you maybe some questions and prep you up for, Brian, what we were hoping to get out of this in the long term. And one of the things we want to make sure is, obviously time is money. I always talk about that. So we don't want to waste a lot of your time, but I think it's something that if you're willing to help out with would be valuable for, even for Sumner Guns and for the other customers. So I'll go ahead and just log in here as a customer. And by the way, you can just use, if you're using Gmail, you can even log in with Facebook or Twitter, which is pretty cool, but I'll just log in with my Google account. Joel, are you seeing my screen, by the way? Joel's muted, probably.
I can't
That's why he's
see
not answering me. Okay, awesome. Or are you not paying attention?
I am muted.
So look at this. We now have forums over here, and you'll see right here, we've got for Core Store and we've got for Core Force, and we'll add some forums for the other products, but we've got an announcement section, a tips and tricks. Obviously, there's nothing in here at this time, but we're going to be migrating everything from our feedback site to this, again, single place, right? So we have our first feature request here, which I actually moved over last night just to make sure it was working. And some of these may be relevant, some of them not. But the nice thing is from a community standpoint, you can start voting, right? And we've had, surprisingly, Joel, I don't know if you go onto our feedback site. Brian, I know you've been on there because I think you've responded and actually added some things, but if you can actually access our current feedback site, and you'll see there's quite a lot of feedback. And it's one of the things that, we want to really start paying attention to. I mean, it's not that we're ignoring it. It's just we've had so many things that we've been working on and updating and, just doing a lot of different work. So we haven't been as vigilant about going to it on a regular basis. So that's something that we want to do. And let me see if I can just pull it up real quick here. If only I type in the right password, and here we go. So again, to get to our feedback site, and we're going to move it so it just takes you to the help system. But right now, and Joel, are you still seeing the right screen? Sometimes
you're on the core store
share
screen.
The correct screen. Yeah. So if I click on leave feedback, there's a lot of feedback in here, Joel. And a lot of it is, we've got some votes, but I think a lot of customers don't even know this exists. So, and I can just keep scrolling. There's quite a lot of things here, a lot of things that we've addressed and we just didn't update necessarily. So some of these things, we just need to go in and update, and maybe sometimes we have customers that sometimes put more of a support request in here. And then I've seen other customers respond, which is, that's phenomenal. So, I think our customers are more active on this than we are. So we need to change that around. So that's one of the reasons what prompted me, Brian, to reach out to you and see if we could get you on this cast and talk to you a little. And I also think that the customers as a whole, it would be good to have a voice. We know that there's a customer-only Facebook group, which I think is great. But what I'm asking is, who's communicating from that Facebook group to Coreware to say, hey, Coreware, you guys screwed up. You put out an update that, I mean, we just did an update that we were nearly crucified for when we updated the, basically we turned off the ability to edit a sale, which, by the way, makes no sense to edit a sale after the fact. But inevitably that caused a lot of headaches, and we reacted very quickly within 24 hours, and less than 24 hours, we changed it. Is my camera messed up?
Yeah, I was gonna wait
Wow.
for an opportune time to make it kind of easy to
You
cut
can just
out.
hide my photo anyway. I'm the scariest one of the
Oh
group.
no, I don't know why it was doing that. It was like it looked like an old TV.
Hey,
It looked like I was
you know
trying to
what?
get
It's
free
Brian's
cable.
fault.
Is what it looked like.
Yeah.
It's Brian's fault. He said Tandy.
That's it, Brian. That's the first computer I was exposed to, a Tandy 1000.
Wow.
Mine was a Sinclair Timex T4A.
I remember Sinclair. I don't remember the model, but I had a Sinclair.
Yeah.
And then Tandy, I actually learned, well, I took programming classes in high school, but I also would go to Radio Shack. I think it was Radio Shack where they taught some programming classes, and we had Tandys there to work on. And then my other good story, Joel, did I ever tell you the story of Tandy?
No.
My best story?
No.
So back in the day, a million years ago, I worked for a company called GameKey, and we used to produce educational games that came on CDs. Remember the days of, and floppy disk, but I think it's actually, we had CDs, I think it was a little post the floppy disk era. And we actually sold our software to Radio Shack, which was owned by Tandy, and Tandy was headquartered in Fort Worth. And I actually flew in there because we had to do an EDI project, an electronic data interchange project, because you had to communicate invoices to Tandy just like you do with Walmart. You communicate electronically. So I had the opportunity to go visit Tandy in the early days of EDI. And I remember going to Fort Worth, and they occupy these two massive buildings downtown in Fort Worth. And here's the funny part of this story, which, Joel, I know you haven't been listening because you've been walking around and doing something else. But what was really cool about the story is GameKey. You know who owned GameKey at the time?
Who?
Kevin O'Leary.
Oh, really?
And Joel's looking like, who's that? So, Joel, you never watch Shark Tank?
Say again?
Do you never watch Shark Tank?
Yeah, he's Kevin O'Leary. He's a Canadian businessman. He's on Shark Tank.
Yeah, he actually owned the company that I think I may have met him early in the day once. Thank you, Google. Yeah. So that's my my connection to celebrity.
That's pretty cool, honestly.
So when you went to Tandy, was the model store still in the bottom floor?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then was there
Yeah.
was the actual tan of Tandy? Were they still making leather stuff in the other store, in the other building?
I never went into the other building.
Yeah, little do people know that the tan of Tandy was hide tanning.
I do remember that.
Really?
They made belts
Yeah.
and all kinds.
I don't think I ever knew that.
Yeah,
That is interesting.
great. company
That's
that,
interesting.
The cell phone industry destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I still miss the days of Radio Shack when you could go in and just pick up some cool gadgets, or if you needed a part, or, I mean, there is nothing like it still. As far as being able to just, you need something on a Saturday or Sunday and you're working on a project and you need it now. It stinks because there isn't really anything equivalent.
No, I need an antenna. That's what I need. A big, tall antenna to put inside my house. Those.
Do we want to know why you need a big antenna?
No, that's what I'm just saying. That's what we used to sell. That and the tower, and then
Oh, okay.
it would come back the next day. Or my favorite was, hey, I need a radar detector. Okay, what's your return policy? In a week,
oh man, the days of radar detectors.
And then a week or 10 days later, suddenly that radar detector would be back, saying it just didn't work like I thought it would. Sorry.
We'll see you next summer.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Oh,
that's
awesome.
Hysterical. That's hysterical. So Brian, I'll put you on the spot. How's everything with your core store and core force environment, and what do you think we can do better, or what specific? I mean, what do you want to throw at us today, if anything? We're not physically there, so you can't really throw anything at us. But
no, Joel and I were just talking about this, but I really like the new support site from the standpoint of the synergy of all the pieces coming together in one place. And in case someone doesn't know how to get it to it the way you got to it, you also can get to it from where you put in a ticket. Once you decide to put in a ticket, it's off to the right-hand side to jump into that as well. The old version, not the new version. But I honestly, things are rolling good for us. I mean, I wish you would come out with an accounting package to kill into it, but that's me. I mean, that
we're going to have to, and we've taken some steps towards that direction, Brian, in terms of adding supplier and customer invoices, which we're still perfecting, and that's basically turning into an accounts payable, accounts receivable module, and then really the missing parts are general ledger and bank reconciliation. I used to actually. Oh, go ahead.
I said that's the toughest part, right? Is that the conduit Shogo between Core Store and whatever QuickBooks or whatever software you're using, Wave or whatever it is remedial at best, and causes QuickBooks makes so many assumptions on journal entries that I spend, probably an hour a day verifying stuff, even though I have two accounting people.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just not,
wow.
It's not accurate, and they're not responsive, to be honest, either. So I'd rather get.
We've heard that many times, and that's something we do need to address. So we've heard it from other customers that Shogo's not being responsive, and Shogo wrote the integration. Not to say that we don't have issues on our end, but we don't know if we need to fix anything because we have trouble getting a hold of them.
Yeah.
Which I know is not good news for anyone. But yeah, they've grown so much, and we're a little speck of dust on their radar because they're mostly specialized in integrating restaurant point of sale systems.
Yeah, I mean,
and
their own way into it too,
yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it's all like the big bad evil monster out there. I would love for you guys to have payroll in CoreClear too. Oh my gosh. To be able to do payroll.
To have what?
Payroll in CoreClear would be a monster for me. I mean.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever jump into payroll, but we've talked about integrating into a couple of payroll systems. And here's what integration these days scares me because, Brian, I don't know if you heard this, but I just heard this last week. Stripe bought out TaxJar. And I don't know if you're a TaxJar user, but for those customers that are, I mean, don't panic. I don't think anything's changing tomorrow, but what is Stripe going to do? Because obviously it's another company that does not support the gun industry. And we're seeing more and more corporate America squeezing. And I don't know if you've read the latest this weekend, but UPS is coming out with some new, which make the rules they're coming out with make no sense, because all they're doing is strengthening the big, the bigger companies, right? So they're trying to squeeze out Sumner Guns from shipping guns.
Yeah.
But they're giving points to, the bigger guys. And then the good news for a Sumner Guns to me is more and more people are just going to want to shop local. The gun industry is the leader in terms of pushing for shopping local, because no matter what, someone has to come into your store, or a consumer has to go visit a physical store to pick up that gun. At the end of the day, gun stores are not going away. I hate to break it to everyone, right? And then the other news this weekend was, Joel, I don't know if you saw the headline, but Visa has joined MasterCard and American Express, and they're separating out the transactions. Now, here's what I don't understand. Here's breaking news for all of you. What I don't understand is when a merchant fills out their application, every merchant application that we do and that our competitors do asks for a copy of the FFL, right? So everyone's like panicking, like, oh, they're going to know what gun transactions are. But you know what? They already know that shit. I mean, seriously, they already know that, Brian, that guess what? You sell guns. They know it from when you applied. Now, maybe that information wasn't shared on the level of Visa, MasterCard. Maybe that was staying within the processing bank. I'm not saying this is like not bad news, but at the same time, I don't know if, this is really news that everyone needs to suddenly panic over. And I'll give you guys a little bit of a preview, but we're we're planning to roll out support for crypto in CoreStore. So being able to accept Bitcoin, which again, we know crypto market has been tanking right now, but that's just the normal cycle for crypto.
It's time to buy.
But if you want to, oh, what's that?
Time to buy. Time to buy.
Say that again. Time to buy. It really is. Yeah, it really is time to buy. And Joel, I'm sorry, I can't, for whatever reason, my camera's messed up, so you don't get to see my pretty mugshot.
Oh, you're good. We've got pictures we can throw up as you're talking.
Yeah, you can throw up all kinds of pictures, I'm sure.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
But yeah, so there's a lot of news happening, and this is where integration scares me, because I mean, we keep adding integrations because we can't be all things to all people. But at the same time, with our industry, it gets a little scary, because when someone sells out, where is that? Who's buying that company, right? And what are their political beliefs, and what are their terms of service, right? And that's where it gets a little scary.
Well, I'll tell you, I can say this. When I took over this store 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago at this point, they were still using QuickBooks for point of sale and also for credit card transactions as a processor. And I bounced around about 4 different places, negotiating. And you guys still to this day remain the lowest and the fastest funding, consistent funding I've ever had or I've ever seen anywhere. Doesn't matter whether it's a restaurant or, at a Radio Shack that took us 3 days to get funded. You guys, I don't know what you're doing, but whatever you did is fantastic. Don't change it. It's one of those things where it's like,
so
the shit works. Don't break it.
Right.
No, that makes total sense. And Brian, I'll tell you, and since it's just the three of us, I'll share our secret formula. And it might shock you, but we're not a processing company. Our revenue is not driven from credit card processing. So that's the secret formula. So we're able to mark up true cost. And what some of our competitors do is they tell you what the cost is, but they've already marked up the cost. So the markup above cost is above not real cost, and we just don't play those games. So for us, it's pretty easy for us to beat a company that all they do is credit card processing, and you can't blame them for, they need more of a margin because that's all they do, right? So they're going to have to try to find revenue somehow, and obviously, they can't just give the stuff away, which we practically do, because that's not our main source of revenue. So we're able to offer that as a service, and of course we also offer the flat rate for customers that want more of the Square model. So it works out, and once you reach a certain size, that typically doesn't make sense unless you want simple accounting, which we have some big customers that are like, Ezra, we don't care. We just want a flat rate. It just makes our math easy. And it's like, okay, I get it, because, sometimes it's hard to understand all the different rates that are out there. It's over 1,000 different permutations. But again, at the end of the day, you can save a ton of money.
The one thing that's fantastic about CoreClear is that you don't hit my bank account until the end of the month. And I get a statement before you hit it. And it outlines every freaking fee there is in the world. And it's exportable to a CSV file. So if I really want to get nitpicky and start arguing, but when we're talking about 1%, 1.2% or something stupid compared to the 3.5% everybody else is paying, it's a negligible issue for me at this point. I don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
And that to me has, it's taken a significant amount of stress off me trying to make sure that, when you're trying to cut a deal on something, or, a customer's in and you don't want to let them out the door and you want to give them the best deal, how much might I have to add back in to what I paid for it and the holding costs and all that, what is that formula? I don't even count it anymore, because it's like, it's negligible.
That's
and your
awesome.
reporting is beautiful. That's the one thing. And I'm not saying that because you're here. I'm just being honest. It's freaking fantastic, man. It is so easy. I've even got my guys who I never thought in the world I would allow to handle transactions. They now can look in CoreClear in the system and look up any transaction for people. You know what I mean? And it is so much better customer service too for them. So kudos.
Yeah.
And the integration, again, is tight. Am I some people will probably call me, you're the Jim Jones and I'm the believer, right? I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, baby. But
it's tasty, isn't it?
Do what?
It's tasty, isn't it?
Oh, wonderful, man. I love
that's hysterical.
I love the tight integration, right? If you're asking me what you can do better, is I don't know what CoreFire offers other people, because ours is CoreForce, and you guys have built it all out for us, and we've been tweaking it as we go along. I would love more tight integration between my website and Core Store. A little more defined process there, but it still works the way it is. It's not a problem, but it's not as tight as the integration is, let's say, with CoreClear, right?
And that's something we're striving for. Inevitably, when you've got two platforms, even if they're both and this is just a fallacy that's being sold out there, right? In general, like, oh, there's Zapier, right? And Zapier can connect any program to any program. And if you have an API, well, as long as your other software has an API, everything's copacetic. Everything's going to work. And unfortunately, that's not reality. And we learned it the hard way. Just trying to build a good integration between our own two systems. Brian, you're 100% correct. I mean, it's a lot better than it was, but it's still far from perfect. And part of what we've done with CoreFire, which is basically just mini CoreForce, right? So it doesn't have all the options that you're used to, Brian, because it's meant, for basically smaller companies that just don't have the resources to manage a website. And CoreForce, I'm sure you'll vouch for this, it requires management. I mean, it requires resources, it requires time. And it's not
bad,
just going to...
Honestly, it's really not that bad. I mean, if you can... honestly, man, I got to disagree. It doesn't take that much time. I mean,
well, that's good.
Everybody here on my management team is trained in how to process an order. And the only time it gets weird is when there's a refund or something like that we have to figure out, right? Like something has happened odd, out of the ordinary, that falls out of the funnel. Well, that happens everywhere. So we got to do a little hunt and peck and fix it, right? But
yeah,
it's pretty amazing. I'll tell you what, CoreForce, the distributor ordering thing for me, our margin over the last 18 months is up 27%. Okay. Our margin is up 27% strictly because I can attribute it to nothing else than using distributor orders to order my inventory, because I get to see everyone's pricing in one place. Right? So now it's no longer I have an account with Chattanooga where they just, you're such a great customer, man. You're doing a couple million a year. We love you, man, whatever. And then I go out there and look at the UPC and I go, well, then why in the hell are you 21% higher than RSR? Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's right. They're not going to tell you that. I mean, my gosh, they're not going to tell you that. So we've gone to 99% of everything we do. I just tell vendors now, I'm like, if you don't have an API and you're not set up through Coreware, I'm probably never going to order anything through you. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you may have the best pricing in the world, but the time this thing saves me and the tracking that I can get out of it is worth 10%, 15%. So
exactly,
just stop,
Right, exactly.
Now, I will say this, Ezra, I wish the reporting on distributor ordering was significantly better. Like we should be able to go in and look at what we ordered and be able to at least get an order screen other than just a generic dump. You know what I mean? It's the same reporting we use in CoreStore.
Yeah.
Basically. And Ethan knows that. I've been wearing him out over it.
Well, hey, Brian, question for you. So do you place your orders for distributors through CoreForce or through CoreStore?
CoreForce.
Did you know you can actually transmit orders to distributors from CoreStore?
Yes, but here's the problem with that. They see them differently.
That is true. Wait.
Okay.
Actually, let me... what do you mean by the distributors?
The distributors see a different format, and it triggers something weird in their brain. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just them freaking out because it's different. But I feel like the stuff that comes from CoreForce is like an old PO that we would hand write. You know what I mean? Like, remember those 3-part carbon things? One, and you write the UPC. That is very, very block, very exactly what it's supposed to be. And I feel like the CoreStore side of things is very frou-frou-y, and it gets, because, when you have to put an email in. And when you do that, then they put, if you've got a...
So I know what you're talking about. So I've got something to show you and to show the rest of the audience. And this is why I think having these types of meetings is going to hopefully benefit everyone.
Are you talking about in the fulfillment section?
No. Now, all orders that come in from the website, absolutely, you need to process those through. You definitely want to process those through CoreForce. But for your regular inventory, let me share my screen here. I'm just in our demo store here. Let me just close that out. Okay, so one of the things that I think most of our customers, and we made a recent subtle change, and I'm just going to pull up a supplier, and let's say I'm pulling up, I don't know, let's say, I don't know if David, let's do Davidson's, right? And I'll just go into the supplier. So one of the things, and let's see if we've got it. Okay, so, and I thought we moved the field. We haven't moved it yet. We're going to move it more close to the top because most people don't know it's there. There's a drop down, Brian, right here. That drop down of vendor ID is coming from your CoreForce / CoreFire. So if I associate...
Whoa, stop. Hold on. Where are you at? You're in suppliers?
Yep, I'm in suppliers. So I went to suppliers, pulled up just Davidson's, and I scrolled all the way towards the bottom where there's a vendor. I know it's a hidden field because it's so far down, but it's a really powerful field. And I'll show you why. So the minute I choose which CoreForce distributor this supplier is, I can hit save. And then when I go to purchase order, right, I'll go into purchasing and I'll click on a new purchase order. And let me get rid of the help there. Okay, I'll go into here and I'll just type in Davidson's. Right, and I don't know if we've got this nice new feature showing me that, their FFL is valid and that's why it's green. But now when I choose an item, I'll just choose the SIG, right? First of all, I can hit the magnifying glass, right? If I want to see everyone's cost, right? So I can still see who has it in stock and what the cost is. But what I can do is look at this button now, transmit PO. You know what that does, Brian? It literally sends the PO as if it came from CoreForce because we're using CoreForce to transmit that purchase order.
Okay, so that's kind of what he was talking about, that tight integration. So we are getting better, Brian. Mm-hmm. It looks like Core Store and CoreForce. That's really
and
awesome.
I hate to break it to everyone that this is sometimes our problem is, either nobody has time to read what we publish or we don't mention it. But this has been there for a long time. Long time. But we've done a horrible job, I think, letting people know that it's there.
Go back over the steps again so Joel will be able to chop this thing up and send it to everybody as a quick video.
Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like I sleep with this every night, and I didn't even know you could hit the hourglass and find who has what.
Yeah,
I do all that over in distributor.
Yeah, we'll do it again, everyone. I think it will be good for us to do it again anyway. So, okay. So, Joel, this is where you're going to splice our cast, but you can still keep this in the cast because nothing wrong with people seeing things twice. So, but I'll start as though we're just showing a new feature. All right. So what we're going to show today is how do we connect Core Store suppliers to your distributors in CoreForce and CoreFire. And you can actually connect the two, and that way you can enter a purchase order in Core Store and just transmit it. And it will get transmitted as if you enter the order directly in CoreForce or CoreFire. So the first step is you want to go to your supplier. So we'll go down to suppliers. And in this case, I'm going to pull up Davidson's and I'll hit edit. And if I scroll all the way down, there's actually a drop down for vendor ID. This drop down is pulling all of the distributors that you have set up in CoreForce and or CoreFire. So if you had 10 distributors set up, you'd have 10 listed here, right? And what I can do is I can choose Davidson's because, again, sometimes the data names don't match. So we can't make an assumption, right? So we need you to acknowledge, hey, this supplier corresponds to this distributor, right? And as soon as I hit save, now the two are basically connected. So my Core Store Davidson's Inc. is actually connected to the actual CoreForce CoreFire distributor of Davidson's. So now what I can do is when I enter a purchase order, so let's go into our purchase order module. We'll click purchasing. And this is just our new dashboard. So I know we probably confused some people with this, but it's really easy. I can either enter a receiving to start receiving items, but I can also go into purchase order. And the purchase order module, I can either email the purchase order, I can print it. But the nice thing is if the supplier is a distributor that's already set up in CoreForce or CoreFire, I can also electronically transmit that purchase order. So what I can do is let's say I'm looking for a SIG, right? And I'm specifically looking for, was it 365 or 3? I don't know. Let's do the 320. Hopefully someone has it in stock. So always remember that we have several screens where this magnifying glass shows up. That magnifying glass basically says, go show me what distributors have this item, at what cost, and what quantities do they have. So you'll notice I chose one that actually nobody has in Sport South, and Davidson's Asheville is actually my second store. Nobody has it in stock, but we'll just imagine that they did, right? So we can still just cancel out of here. And you'll notice once I choose the supplier, in this case, I'll choose Davidson's, if they had it in stock. Now, again, it's still going to let me transmit it, but I know they don't have it in stock, so I won't transmit it. But I can literally click this transmit button, right? And that will actually transmit this order to the distributor as though you sent it from CoreForce. So this is really good if you're ordering items for the store. It makes it really easy to actually place an order with your distributor. And again, you would do each order for the different distributors. You'd put in, a different order. You can use our buyer assistant if you want to do multiple items, multiple distributors, and we can walk through that another time. But for transmitting, all I have to do is hit the transmit button. And I mean, that order, right, will go in and actually be sent. Now it's telling me no products found to order because obviously there's no stock for this particular item. But if someone did have stock, it would actually let me transmit that order.
Thanks for watching this short tutorial.
Good job, Joel.
That's awesome. Brian, I'm excited for you, man, because I could see you were kind of giddy over there. That's really great.
Oh, no. I mean, hell, that makes my life easier because then I don't have to try to hand match POs to receivers and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
That's the whole crux of things is that it's not that hard, but anything to gain a minute, 2 minutes on every transaction turns
time
into
is money.
more time, less labor.
Yeah,
you're right. It's absolutely no matter what. So, yeah, no, that's badass. That's awesome.
Yeah, I figured you'd like that. And again, I think this is stuff that
even the old fat guy can handle it. That's okay.
Yeah, and these are things, hopefully, if we can get together on a regular basis. And again, Brian, we're not asking for a lot of your time, but maybe once a month or once every other month. And if you can help us pay attention to our community forums. I'm still trying to figure out how we can make you a moderator. And Eric's going to be a moderator, assuming our platform lets us make outside people moderators, which I think we can. So we're double checking. But and again, I think it will be good. And at the same time, I know you have your ear to the ground as far as you talk to various different customers of ours, and sometimes we don't hear things loud enough. And it's not that we're ignoring, we're getting bombarded, right? Especially right now. Every day there's at least one or two customers that are going through an audit. And I think, Brian, you went through a fun audit recently and, needed our help. And, so those are the things we tend to really pay attention to. So that's it. 6 weeks of audit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't a full 6 weeks. It was full 4 weeks and then 2 more weeks of a day here, a day there, them coming back, asking for stuff, and that's fine. I had it all. There's not any problems. Did we have any citations? Sure. We had 3, but all 3 of those are surrounding the 3310 issue. And quite frankly, if we had to go to court over it, they'd lose. There's no question they'd lose. Because I don't have to prove they got anything, because that's not my gig. My gig is to prove I transmitted it.
Right.
And I can even prove that other people got it. So I added myself on a Gmail account that does nothing but just sets and churns those 3310s so that I can prove it goes out the server and it actually goes to the other Gmail account, into me, and goes to the local police. If it doesn't get to them, that's something on their end, not my end. That's the government.
Yeah,
right. That's actually a good pro tip.
That is a really good tip, Joel.
So,
we need to make sure we highlight that tip. Put it on the bottom of that
Right.
screen.
and if they don't, yeah, and I was telling Joel, I spent 2 days with the IOI going through 2016-1, that whole list of things, item by item, saying it does comply. Here's how it complies. Look, and I printed it all out, gave it to her, and she goes, "Yep, I can sign off on it. It looks good." And I was like, "That's what I wanted to hear."
So,
that's great.
What's interesting is, based on your experience and several other customers, we took it upon ourselves to try to make everyone's life easier. And we now have in the knowledge base, if you just type in compliance, first article that comes up is ATF compliance, and you'll see we've responded to every regulation. So here's the 2016-1, and literally we go point by point, and the green is our answers, and that should help other customers, hopefully. I know you went through a lot, and you wish you would have had this back then. So of course, hindsight's 2020. But literally, we've gone through, and I personally went through every single regulation that I'm aware of. And we try to provide the responses to help our customers go through, these audits.
You guys were awesome. I mean, I didn't have any problems. There's only a couple times where it was late in the day, and we had to hit you up, and you guys still responded. So I don't have any problems with that. And some of it is almost, I hate to say it, but you guys are like therapists, because, I needed to vent about why in the hell do they want this? It is not part of what's normal. But the same thing, I'm a part of like every Facebook group there is, and groups all over the place for FFLs. And there's really a divide in the water. There's the guys like me who just say, I know it's illegal, and they're creating a database, and they're, you know what I mean? But again, guys, this is my living, and my license says federal on it. So until it says state of only, I'm going to follow the federal regulations.
Yeah.
Right.
And a great example is the state of Tennessee. You don't have to claim anything as an SBR. They passed a law in the state.
Right.
And people keep coming, "You're giving bad information to people." I said, "Nope, I'm giving you the federal law, which supersedes any state law."
It does.
So, and, we run into that same thing around here in concealed carry permits too, right? Like Tennessee, you don't even have to have one anymore to open carry, right? In Kentucky, you don't have to have one. But guess what? If you go across the Kentucky line and you try to open carry in Kentucky and you're a Tennessee resident, you now have a felony.
Wow.
Because you're not a resident of Kentucky.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, there's so many of those little nuances going around that you just have to go, guys, just, it's the government. It's been this way forever. Quit whining.
Yep.
Go become active and vote.
Yep. And
run your business and stand on hills that you need to die on, but don't fight skirmishes. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And I agree, Brian. One of the things I try to tell dealers is don't make the ATF agent's life harder. And some customers, they specifically do. I mean, look, to each their own, but my logic is you want them out of your store as quickly as possible. You don't want them there 4 weeks, right? So, we do have the ability. We have the ability for you, Brian, to set up an ATF user that's read-only and that they can look through records on their own, which now is the law, by the way. In the latest regulations, it's basically you need to provide that ability if you're going to store things electronically. But even before that happened, we had this ability to set the user up, and everyone got mad at me, and they're like, "Ezra, you can't give the ATF access to our system. I'm like, I'm not. This user, you have to set up. We're just giving you the ability if you want to set it up. Now, I would, because if they can go look at the bound book on their own and answer their own questions and they're not bugging me or my staff, more power to you. And here's the other thing, Brian, and please disagree with me, but I've talked to many, many, many agents lately that there's definitely an uptick on audits. So far, I have not talked to an agent that gave me the impression that their goal in life is to shut your business down. What I have talked to agents is they get aggravated when they see dealers are not complying, with the law, right? And they get annoyed, right? But at the same time, even the ones that are really annoyed, they're like, Ezra, basically the message that I keep hearing is essentially this: Ezra, we're super annoyed because something's a mess, but at the end of the day, we just want to do our job and get the heck out of here. And I think the store owner and the person auditing them, the agent that's auditing them, or the IOI, I think they share the same goal, right? And if everyone would just work together, in general, I think I just think things would go more smoothly. And,
I can only tell you from experience from these guys, and not be having this is the first ATF audit I've ever gone through.
Oh wow!
Right, and it's, I've only been in the industry 3 years, right? So really 2.5 kind of in any control of anything. But I've been audited in the IRS. The IRS was much more like an alien probe than this was.
Right.
You know what I mean? This at least, and we made it harder on ourselves because Brian, me, when we switched to CoreStore, we did it in February of last year, February 10th to be exact. I did not switch to electronic 4473s because I didn't believe I had the ability of the staff that I had at the time to be able to comprehend that much change simultaneously. So we continued to do paper all the way up until the end of September. And then I just turned off paper and said, you're going to have to learn it one way or the other, or you can't work here anymore. And suddenly it's amazing how everybody learned it, right? And I'm beating myself up over that because I could have done that earlier, and I'm really impressed with how they took it. But the truth is it made it 1,000 times easier, right? When you're talking, we did 7,000 firearm sales last year.
Wow.
Okay. And from May to May, that's when the audit period was. And 75% of those were paper. So they have to touch every 4473 guys.
Wow.
And they have to be stored a certain way. They have to be in date order, and then, you know what I mean? It's like, so you have to have all those documents. So that's why it took so long, not because we were so disorganized, but because there was so much. There was only one IOI. You know?
Wow.
What in the world? You dying, Ezra? What's going on?
Is he okay?
I'm good. I just got a Charlie horse.
Oh, man. I can't believe you didn't mute yourself because I would have been crying.
I almost did cry,
It's usually what
I managed to shut my video off fast enough, and I totally forgot about the audio. Oh, man.
Oh, I would have been groaning.
That's freaking awesome.
I'm glad I could provide amusement. The ATF does that to me. So, hey, Brian, question for you. Did you actually switch to the new kiosk?
Yes.
Okay. What's your, just literally, your real reaction on the old kiosk versus new kiosk?
I wish the new kiosk was the first thing we ever did.
Okay.
You know? I mean, because if you didn't turn, here's what I found from an IT background too, right? Is that if you didn't turn that monitor in vertical mode,
there
was a lot of scrolling. Lots of scrolling.
A lot of scrolling, and sometimes you'd lose your place, and sometimes you would lose information. And now
it's just like everybody else's form on every other site, which is it's chunks.
Yep.
And I played nasty with all my guys. I just didn't tell them I was switching it, and I switched it. And they were like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Why would you even notice? You're not supposed to be helping the customer with the 4473 at all." Well, I usually help with, and I said, "You're going to get us fined. Stop it. Let them scan the QR code. If they have a problem, manually put it in. Can't get it there, go back and double check yourself." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, the hardest thing we have with that whole scenario is that the guys get ahead of themselves and forget to put a serial number in, and don't realize that you can't get a QR code until you put a damn serial number in for the firearm.
Right.
Like, guys, you have to know what firearm you're selling. You can't just say, "I'm going to sell a Springfield today." Of the 64 1911s I have in stock, which serial number, buddy?
Yeah.
So
Brian, I got to tell you this story. So I decided to let our support staff off for Labor Day, and I decided to cover the chats, right? And we locked the section B of the 4473 from the store personnel to be able to, you have to go through the kiosk. Well, that was like a mutiny, right? And we were not going to budge on this one.
I saw it.
Yeah. So I'm sitting in chat, and one of our customers gets on, and they go, "We don't understand. Why is this locked?" And I said, "Well, because you just have to have your customer go through the kiosk." And they said, they go, "Well, we don't understand. How are we supposed to fix mistakes?" And I said, what I said, "What do you mean?" Because, I need to clarify, like, maybe I said, "What do you mean?" They said, "Well, for example, if they misspell their name." And at that point, I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
Now why I do lock it. Now I know exactly why.
Exactly. I was like, I didn't say this, but I did in caps. I did. I mean, not all. I didn't do the whole sentence caps, but I wrote, it's in caps, illegal, and then lowercase, to make any changes. Please consult with ATF regulations and your local agent, but you're not allowed to make change. And I'm thinking, holy crap! I understand people not knowing and customers not knowing the detail, what are the digital storage requirements? I get that. I mean, they're hard, they're tough, but this is like selling a gun 101. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So, it strengthened my resolve. And I'm like, yep, this is exactly why we locked it, because we need to do whatever we can to make sure that you, the customer, stay compliant, despite maybe you not you, Brian, but despite you, the customer, not knowing. Yeah.
But that's, I run a sales contest every month, as I hope anybody who's selling things does, right? That's kind of the game.
Yeah.
And I have this monster formula, where certain portions of dollar per hour and dollar per ticket, number of items per ticket, and errors play into the percentages of how many points you get. And last month, I had one guy lose first place because he just didn't give a flip about errors. Every one of his errors was he wasn't signing his 4473s. And I said, you have a touchscreen monitor in front of you. For God's sake, all you have to do is stick your finger up and go,
yeah,
and be done, And so this month, I made him 3 times as much penalty. I said every error is going to cost you 3 times as much as a sale does.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So it's like, I'm like, guys, come on. And I'm not giving away I'm only giving away one. I only believe in one winner. I'm not a soccer fan, so everybody doesn't win. Yeah, so
That's awesome.
I give one prize, and I give them a firearm. You know what I mean? I give them a pistol.
Yeah.
And what do guys that work in this business want? They want free guns. They'd rather have that than get paid.
That's so funny.
Or ammo.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, man, I'm going to tell you, I'm not sucking up to you. I'm just telling you, I love the software. I spent 6 months looking for software, and it came down to you guys just because of the simple fact I'm a firm believer in flow, right?
Yeah.
So when you read something, if it doesn't flow or the headers don't make sense, anything, it just tells me that it was written by somebody who's just a copy and paste artist, or you know what I mean. And everything in your system makes sense to me, and everybody I put in front of it, even new employees, I just set them down in front of 3 videos, and then I go, "You're going to go to work now." And they're like, "What? What? I'm going to go to work?" And I'm like, "Yep, that's what you're going to do, because you can't really make that many mistakes. The system just doesn't allow you to make that many mistakes." I'm like, "And there's nothing you can do that you can't fix. So we're going to do that, And it doesn't take long for them to figure it out. But that, I kind of feel like Core Force is not as smooth as Core Store is, but it needs to be more functional than it needs to be pretty on the backside, and it does a pretty good job for me, of doing that. My head of training, he loves the ability to just go in and throw stuff in, and it's all on the calendar sitting out there. And we had our fair share of problem, little glitches here and there and that kind of stuff when we first turned up, but it's all good. It's all good now.
Hey, Brian, so throughout this cast, we're obviously going to be throwing some pictures up of your facility and whatnot, but can you give us a little bit more in-depth view of your organization? How many employees? Just tell us, because I'm sure we're going to have some dealers out there watching that they're probably saying, "Well, Brian, you don't understand. My organization is this big." Maybe give us some insight.
Well, when I took the organization over, its average, and I'll just tell you dollar numbers, its average dollar amount was over the last 5 years. When I took it over mid, let's just say June 1st for the sake of numbers. The end of that first year, we did.
Wow.
And it, a lot of reasons, right? But it didn't take me long to figure out, if you're still using QuickBooks POS, you'll soon find out there is an item limit in QuickBooks POS that is specifically made to make you buy POS Enterprise and spend the $4,000 they want you to spend per month.
Wow.
So you'll find it, because when you start hitting it, it starts transmitting. When the POS files pull over into QuickBooks, it starts dropping transactions, and suddenly you don't have everything in the general ledger. You have the number, but you don't know what it attaches to. And anyway, so I went on the hunt, and we started. It was about November of that year, right before, and this is in the middle of COVID, right? I mean, think about this. I started really demoing stuff everywhere, and we had 4 full-time people at that point. Okay, that was it, 4.
Wow.
So my background, organization, right? I get it. There was not much margin because inventory was stale. There was no inventory turn. There was a lot of weird kind of stuff, and so we worked really hard to get fresh inventory in and start turning at a reasonable number, right? COVID hits. There were many weeks that I was here 80 hours a week myself. There's me and 2 other guys that just never got it. God bless America that I didn't get it, but I didn't get it. So thank God. But we kept the doors open as much as we could. And as we started to come out of this thing, we started to realize that we weren't staffed enough, right? So I took a step back. I looked at a lot of data, because that's kind of my head, is whoever owns the data wins in the end. And I looked at a lot of data and started realizing that the people we were hiring were not salespeople. They were just enthusiasts. And that's hard to make into salespeople. There's a special person in there in between, right? But the biggest factor I did was I made it about women, if you really want to know the truth. Women shoot free at our range all the time.
Nice.
We have women's classes that are for women, by women, only taught by women, specifically for that. and that's the biggest class we have ever, always, you know. But I figured if I could get the ladies with their purses in the door, I'd get the men in the door. Voila, we've got the men in the door. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And, so at this point, we're probably gonna level this year at about.
My gosh.
And
Wow.
we are at 21 people right now.
Wow.
Gosh, man.
You know,
Wow.
And Brian, are you seeing a big slowdown? We hear people talk about slowdowns, but some people. I mean, obviously, everyone knew the COVID numbers could not sustain. I mean, you had to be expecting a slowdown. But are you seeing anything abnormal, or are you?
I mean, the we're down probably 19%, while the rest of the industry is down almost 30%.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, here's what I've done. Right. So I've got one guy who is the head of training and the head of marketing. And he and I meet every day and talk about every sale, every flyer.
Wow.
And not to pitch Corella for anybody, but I come from a CRM background, knowing and understanding it, selling. And it has been a super, super big tool for us. So,
wow.
We're at about 12,000 clean emails right now in Corella. And inside Coreware, hell, it's 30,000 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I went after trying to do more vertical revenue streams, right? I was like, oh shit, I got to get training up and going. I got to get us not all eggs in one basket. So we've kind of sustained there, but I hired a guy to do marketing, training, ex-military guy, wonderful, much like you, Joe. Just a wonderful guy, man. And
Thank you.
He just gets it. You know what I mean? And it's fun because he likes to cut the videos and he is quick at it. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
I've got somebody who's full-time, literally full-time, doing nothing but shipping and receiving, and they handle the bound book. And I don't think I would ever run a business like this without someone who is 100%. That's their gig.
I agree.
Because it's too important, man.
Absolutely. That can shut you down if it's not done right.
So I've got that. And then I've just got tons of part-time people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we invested. This is another thing maybe you could think about, but have you ever seen the scheduling software called Homebase?
No.
Pretty much a standard for shift scheduling.
Yeah.
Across the industry, across all industries, and I use that because they can go in and put their times in that they want to use and they don't want to use. They block it all out. And then on Wednesdays, we schedule for the following week. And, you don't get your time in, you don't get to work. That's as simple as it gets, man.
Wow. That's revolutionary, man.
So these guys fight for shift, honestly.
That's awesome.
I mean, because at the end of the month, they're incentivized to have the best dollar per ticket, most number of items per ticket, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. So, but, all these little things don't add up to anything other than a customer first attitude. That's really what it's all about here. My key phrase when I walk out of this office today, the first thing I'll do is go, whoever's leaning's cleaning. Somebody's leaning against a wall or they're leaning on a case or whatever, their ass better have a rag in their hand. They better be clean. Yeah. You know what I mean? Now, keep in mind, I'll send you a bunch of pictures, but keep in mind, my storefront area is only 1,783 square foot.
Wow.
Right? So it feels like someone's garage.
Right.
And shit stacked everywhere, neatly, but shit stacked everywhere because that's the fun feeling, right? To come in. Core tags have saved us. I've invested pretty heavily in it. In fact, I just invested last month in some more. I probably got $8,000 in core tags, maybe.
Wow.
But it has saved me so much time and money because as soon as a gun comes off the special top of the racks, it sells. These guys all know what to do. They grab the gun, they walk over into the core store, and they go to Core Tags. They scan the UPC on the gun, and by the time they take the gun back to the rack and put it back up top, the Core Tag's already changed. They don't have to worry with it,
man.
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm no longer on Amazon buying those stupid little PAL stickers, and I got plenty of them left when I want to use them, but I think there's a whole lot more potential in Core Tags than we possibly are touching the iceberg right now.
Wow.
I would love to get those little LEDs working better, because I now I'm watching them in grocery stores and electronic stores going, But we have used the Core Tags for flash sales.
That's
right?
awesome.
So you go in and you put in your price change in Core Store, and it comes off at a certain time. Well, then the Core Tags update.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome.
I don't have to do anything with that, right? So I can say, hey, we're going to do a flash sale. We're about to hit media with it. And from 2 until 6 or 2 to close, this is going to be 20% less. And you just change the price. Everybody goes, well, should we take 20% off that? Not if you'd like to keep your job. The pricing's correct. So all in all, man, we still run the 10-lane range. The one thing that I wish I probably should integrate more is Core Force and people being able to reserve the range earlier, right? So I haven't gone in, taking our members and added them in and marked them in a way that they can have access to a longer time period to reserve a lane. You know what I mean? We've just been so busy with selling, which is absolutely, like, you can't see it, but on my wall it says number one thing, dollars, second thing, dollars, third thing, dollars, fourth thing, bathroom. And then after that it's Diet Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew, Diet Mountain Dew. But I probably need to be better there, but I can share the numbers with you. You can pull them from online yourself by looking at our account, but
we don't do
really
that. Just to be clear.
Whatever.
No, we really don't. I know you don't, but we're
right.
We'll only look at your data, and this is important for all of our customers to know. If there's a support issue, we look at data, but again, we don't even have time to look at people's data, even if we wanted to. So,
right.
But that's important. Data. There's so many companies out there that do really not good things with your data without your approval.
Right.
And we make it a habit not to do that.
Google. Apple.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to talk about it now, and it's going to start showing up on my phone in ads. You know what I do. We really haven't put any effort in the website other than just making sure that it's up to date correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have netted this year $212,629 on the website sales that we would have never sold before.
That's awesome.
Nobody would have even known we were here. You know what I mean? It's 839 orders.
Wow.
So what I did was I just had business cards made that have one side of the business card has our training website, which is part of Core Force. It's just another, it's a private link. And then the other one just has the website Prime name on it. And anytime anybody asks for anything, in fact, I chewed some ass today about it because I heard somebody else recommended another website to buy something in our store from one of our guys. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
I'm like, don't bite the hand that feeds you, brother. That's not real smart. But they go in every bag, and I'm old school sales guy. So every guy that works for me or girl that works for me has a card. Both those go in every bag, right?
That's
and on the back of the card,
that's genius.
Is a little note section that they can put notes on. But since marketing is so tough in this industry,
yep,
I just went total guerrilla and just said, that's what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be guerrilla marketing king, And
nice.
we have, between the three of us, there are 3 other stores within 5 miles of me, and all of them are up for sale.
Wow.
So,
wow.
you know, we may buy them. I don't know. I mean, I've talked to a couple of them, but they're unrealistic about what they want out of the store. But I love the software, man. I love the integration, the deep and tight integration. Not much else I can say about it other than it's badass. Of course, it's frustrating. They're all frustrating.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, shit, my accounting girl over there, this morning, she's, you'd love my office, right? My office I share with 2 other people. Right? So one big 49-inch curved monitor, another 24-inch for my Outlook and my, Slack. And then the rest of it spread across this freaking monster, And they're over there, arguing over QuickBooks and whatever. And she was just like, I hate this computer. It's so slow, whatever. And I said, well, I can take it away. You can go back to the pen and paper if you want. And she's like, could always be worse. I said, you're damn right it could be. Just relax. It's okay. It'll all work out. We're not killing babies. We're saving babies. It's all good.
Right.
Relax, man. You guys should start an insurance company is what you should start.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Insurance brokerage would be really good. But, my Lockton quote came in 108% higher than last year.
Wow.
108%. And it went up 100% the year before that.
Jeez.
I pay, if I use them, I've got quotes out to other people, but, they wrench you down so hard. I've got to make a decision by the end of the month. So and they don't give you your quote until you're within the 30-day window on purpose, right? To keep you from, they're trying to keep you from doing anything about it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just stupid, but I got till the end of the month to make a decision. But it's $12,000 a year for essentially liability insurance.
Wow.
No motor vehicle insurance. That's not workman's comp.
It's crazy.
It's basically liability and product coverage in the store. And we've never had an accident. Knock on wood. Never had a suicide in the range. Never had anybody get hurt in any way, shape, not even an employee get hurt.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
And yet we're all getting dinged because the NRA is in bed with them. They're getting a kickback on the backside, right? And it's like, I love the NRA sometimes and hate them other times.
I know. Right.
So,
well, this was awesome. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing everything. And Brian, we're going to make sure that you're not a stranger. So this hopefully will be your first of future. We're going to make you a superstar.
Yeah.
With all 5 of our viewers.
Yeah, I said, after 30 years of mixing audio for concerts, I don't. I used to tell the lighting guy all the time, I'm like, we need to be very clear. Number 1, I'm in charge. Number 2, I can hire and fire you. And number 3, the lights better never, ever show me because I'm not important. Whoever writes your is important, right?
So hopefully you approve. Hopefully approve. I invested in the roads.
It's much better. Much better. Significant.
Hey, you know what? You know what, Ezra? It didn't sound that bad that far away from you either.
You could probably just lay it on the ground.
You literally probably could.
Really?
Honestly. It
Wow.
sounded pretty good, yeah.
It's pretty hot where it's at right now, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty sensitive, but
That's good to know.
I'm surprised it sounded that good away from you.
Hey, one
That's
last thing
interesting.
for you, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of a company? Let me make sure I tell you what it is, because I always get it wrong.
Hey, while you look, Joel, make sure we show the company that I think Brian said was Homebase. I've never heard of it, but I think other customers may be interested in that, especially if it handles shift planning properly. So,
Oh yeah, it does, and and if they download the app, I mean, and also see that's the thing that freaks me out is it will do time clock, it'll do geo fencing on the time clock even.
wow.
Oh, cool.
I mean, you can
Nice.
do all that in there as well. I wish it had And they do have an API, but you guys, you ain't got no time to be dinking with that. You know what I mean? The name of the thing is Quick Design. So, you know how everybody stores TVs or their signage in their store is a pain in the ass, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is actually built on the Roku. And
I love Roku.
They have their own Roku app that essentially, it's not essentially, it does. It allows you to place the monitor or the TV anywhere, and you create your slides in movies, or you can even do a live web link or whatever on there for like $5 a TV per month.
Wow.
Wow.
It would be really cool to be able to take the core tag information and kind of push that direction too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it is. I've
and
got
what's
about
this one
30
called?
TVs in the store now. So.
Wow. What's this one called?
Quickie
Design. Quickie Design. These are great tips for store owners, Joel.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, this is really. Hey, all joking aside, not that I was joking in the first place, but having you on, Brian, like sincerely, I think this is what people are like hungering for. You know, they want to know, like, this is practical stuff from a person that's in the trenches, and this is really, it's been really, really good and eye opening.
Well, that's good. I mean, I'm not a genius by any stretch of the imagination, but and how to run a business.
Yeah. Well, and you've got insight that others may not have, or
absolutely,
things they may not have thought about. So
for
this
sure,
is really, really cool.
Well, this was awesome, guys.
I just put the link in the chat for you.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, okay, you put the link in the chat.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, one more thing, Ezra, I need from you.
Sure.
Would you please get this damn API fixed to guns.com?
Oh, get it done, you mean? We haven't done it yet.
Yes. Dear God, I'm telling you, last year I did $400,000 in sales on that thing. And I had to do it by hand.
Yeah, it's definitely
and the
something
margin
being
on
worked
there is
on.
close to 70. That's a lie. Don't lie to me.
No, it really is. But we keep pushing it off because Jeff's working on it, and inevitably he keeps getting distracted with stuff. But I'll check with him to see if how much more he has left.
You know about the CoreX group on Facebook, right? I sent that to you.
Yes, we know about it. Yeah,
CoreX group.
Yeah, we do know about it.
Might be okay. Might be a good idea to possibly lurk in there.
No, we don't do any lurking. I mean? We got spies. We don't lurk. I'm just kidding.
I'm okay with it. I'm just saying there's some good ideas in there, and there's a lot of. I see a lot of segmentation in there when they. A lot of people are doing ammo ready, and then they're doing this, and then they're doing that. And I'm like, stop it. Just stop it. You don't understand what integration means and the time it saves. You know.
Yeah.
If you got to pay yourself just $50 an hour, the math works out in a very bad way for that kind of stuff. So,
absolutely.
Yeah,
people don't value their time enough.
Say hi to Justin. Justin is my director of training and my.
Hi, Justin.
Hi to Justin.
Hey, is Justin going to be sending me all that information? I'd love some short videos and some pictures of your range and your store, your sales floor, and your sales team, and it'd be really cool to. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, we've got some stuff already, but we'll get it.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
I like I'm being played by Joel. Joel, hear me out. Stop talking, Brian.
Hey, do you hear it? No, I played it, but it's as low as I can get it.
We hear it.
I was just going to start slowly bringing it up when you stop. Oh,
there you
it's
go.
a good song. It's your favorite, Brian.
That whole album is good. Back to Oakland.
Man, I mean, I don't want to go to Oakland, but yeah, I mean, it's groovy.
Groovy. Bye, everyone.
Hey, Brian, seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian. Seriously.
Ezra, Ezra, thank you. And Joel, thank me. Thank me. I hope we can do this again in the future really, really soon. Guys, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye, everyone.